Celebrate.
Wait, it's my okay, nice. My microphone is working. Okay, then I shall begin. Right, so this NUS Holidayrena 2022 is an event that was held yesterday by the NUS Intellectual Games Club. And yeah, I went for this event. It was a friendly blitz arena, lasted for 2 hours. Pretty chill lah, basically. Yeah, a good break from the various facility tournaments, ACA Rapids that basically they were more competitive in nature. Yeah, so before I get into the games, I do want to thank the IGC as well, especially Andrew, Jay. I know that y'all went through a lot of delays, y'all put in a lot of effort into organizing this tournament and this friendly event. So really credits to you guys for pulling this off. And I also quite enjoyed the live commentary that Andrew and Kevin put together. And actually for y'all, for those of you who are watching this stream on YouTube, I put the link to their live commentary in the YouTube description so y'all can go and refer to it if y'all want to lah. Right. So today I do want to I just going to go through like a couple of the games that I played today. I mean honestly my performance yesterday was not very good. I wasn't in the right state of mind, but I think some of the games were quite interesting. That's why I decided to go through some of them today. Okay, so without further ado, let's go in. So I'm going to go through 3 games, right? So the first game that I'm going to go through, oh wait, sorry, wrong scenery. Yep, that's the one. That's more accurate. Yep, okay. So the first game that I'm going to go through is, I was playing the Black Pieces. My opponent is Neo. Yeah, I mean, everybody in this tournament was from NUS, obviously. And I don't really know him very well, but I've seen his name before. I think he represented NUS in the recent NFTs as well. And like even though there's quite a big rating difference between us, I would say that he's not a pushover lah. Definitely, as you will see this game. So it starts out. By the way, yeah, the time control for this is 5+3. Unrated on the chess. As you all know, I'm really bad at managing my time, so I always prefer games with women. And I think 5+3 was generally quite a good time control for me. Anyway, let's continue. Yep. So e4, c6, I employ my very usual Caro-Kann defense. And we get into an exchange variation. early knight f3 is always it's always very provoking because bishop g4 is when naturally comes to mind, but there is a problem behind this move. Black needs to know what they are doing. So here white goes for bishop e2. If white wanted to be very aggressive, bishop b4 would have been played. Then after knight c6, c3, and then there's all this nonsense that's coming in now, and black needs to know what they're doing. Anyway, white doesn't go for that. He goes for bishop e2, breaking the pin straight away, although that's slightly passive in my opinion. Right, knight to c6, so everything just goes on best but normal. So now my opponent employed this very unique setup. Quite atypical of, not very typical of the exchange Karo card. Usually in the exchange Karo, you will see the pawn chain being set up on the dark squares over here. Yeah, and when that happens, almost certainly black main plan would be to go for the minority attack, is to try and get this backward pawn on c6. But the setup that white has chosen over here does not allow for that to happen. First of all, there's not really a good target here for the pawn to be pushed, obviously. And second of all, usually rook b8 is needed for minority attack, but bishop f4 usually stops that from happening. Right? And of course, there's always the obvious threat of knight b5. I think this one has caught many people who are not familiar with the Karo-kan. So obviously over here, I have to play a6 to stop that. And now knight to e5. So again, it's very obvious. I cannot go for minority attack. I have to change my plan slightly. Possibly go for central push, or since white has played h3, I think Shah, who plays this Karo-kan exchange quite frequently, I think he advocates a kingside attack using this as a hook. But anyway, we shall see. So I choose to trade the light square bishop first because I know that this bishop doesn't really have a future. If it goes back to g6, it only becomes a target for this knight on e5. Right, so bishop takes e2, knight takes e2, bishop to d6. And here I think the commentators were looking at my game and they didn't really like this move because they felt that it allows too much simplification of this position, which might not be everyone's cup of tea. But I saw this now obviously, and my feeling is that this is actually quite okay for me. In fact, I would like to have this position as black. Simply because first of all, I'm going to push c6 very soon. I think this was also brought up by Andrew and Kelvin during their commentary. And usually in this position, one of the gripes of black's position is that white can try to plant a knight here, but in this case, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Obviously, they need to spend 3 tempo, and while I can play c5 immediately. And so I think the plan here will be something like c5. I don't even have to castle actually. I can just bring over my rooks and then just go all out on the queen side. This open file should be quite a dream to me, basically. And then not to mention, of course, I always have these moves at my disposal. So it's definitely a very nice position for black to play in. Anyway, that wasn't played, the exchanges. Instead, a3 was played. I don't know what the purpose of that move was. There's no reason to stop me from coming here. So possibly the only thing I can think of is maybe they're just trying to go b4, b5 or something. Yeah. Yeah, so moving on, castles. Rook to c1. And yeah, this is quite plain for all to see. My opponent is making their intentions very clear. He's going to push c4 later on. Right. So over here, I want to play rook to c8, and then just try to fight for them on the queen side, hopefully. But I think some of these pieces, they are sort of getting in the way. I was considering moves like knight to h5, knight to c4, but I think c4 is still playable here, and it's quite tough for black to prevent it. And honestly, I don't know who is better here. So anyway, that wasn't played. I chose to exchange. Right. Just to try and get some extra space for my pieces. My position is starting to get a bit cramped. Knight to e4 now. If I play knight to e7, then there comes f4, and oh goodness, my knight is really bad. Possibly I have things like this, but I think that's a bit too slow also. Yeah. So knight to e4, but that's risky because anytime if f3, yeah, my knight can get trapped. And actually, queen to d4 is actually one of the major threats that black can do. Like on first glance, it looks a bit stupid. Like I can play rook c8, rook d4, just chase it away. But it's it is tricky. It's tricky. So for example, like here, if I don't do anything, right, c4 is coming in. Right. If I take, obviously, my knight hangs. If I let him take, then this is going to become a weakness. Right. And also, there's another more sinister motive behind it. Right. And here I thought for a while, and I made a blunder actually. I went b5. So the reason is that the reasoning behind b5 is that I know that Neil is trying to go for c4 here, so I want to stop it. But in the process, I completely forgot that he had a very nice tactic over here, which he missed actually. He played f4 in this position, which I thought was a bad move. Yeah, he could have played f3. And actually my knight is trapped because you notice after queen d4, you actually cover this square. My knight can't really go back. It can't go back to this square because of that pawn I have to play here. And then I'll take h5. Like, yeah, gone. I mean, I can still survive, possibly, like knight takes f3, rook takes f3, rook to c8, and then hope for some kingside pressure. But I think my instinct here is that I think white can survive this, yeah, and get away with the extra material. Yeah, I mean I can try, but I don't think if white plays properly, I don't think your black's attack will work out lah. So anyway, go back to that. So instead of b5, I was considering other moves. Rook to c8 was one possibility. So if let's say f3 now, right, then rook to c4, then at least this gives me some breathing space. My knight can retreat and stuff. The computer gives a very weird line over here actually, which is queen to e3, and now apparently it doesn't like knight to c4. I think because the rook might get trapped. Yeah. So the computer actually spits out this really weird line like queen g5 and then takes, and then like this rook is in a absolutely weird position. I don't know. I mean, what am I gonna do? I think possibly I have to play like f6 later on, get this rook out, and then just increase the kingside pressure over here lah. Yeah. I mean, it's unclear for both sides. It's definitely unclear, but both sides need to be careful lah. Yeah, but anyway, instead of f3, I think my worry of this move is that they can play c4 anyway. So c4, and again, I'm in a dilemma over here. So I can't take, obviously. I have to let them take and then accept this weakness. Possibly queen to e7, queen to h5. But yeah. Not easy. The computer actually suggested f6 instead. Quite counterintuitive. Like you are weakening this pawn center, but I can see the reason behind it. Of course, after let's say c4 now, right? c4 takes, and the idea is queen to f6. So after this series of forced exchanges, actually blacks, I mean, even though the material looks slightly even, black's pieces are definitely more well coordinated. They have a lot more pressure here. If white goes f3, for example, then there's a lot of holes here, right, for this knight to hop in. Rook can live here, right? It is unclear, definitely. I think white in this position, he will probably try to put some pressure on this isolated pawn. Not going to be so easy for black to defend that. Yeah, or black will just try to concentrate kingside lah. Yeah. So f6, that was what was suggested by the computer. Yeah. Instead, so like I said, I made this blunder, b5, and Neo returns the favor by not seeing f3, which would have trapped the knight, but instead f4. And honestly, I didn't like this move at all because I think and Kevin made a comment on the live commentary after this move. Basically, the knight will never be dislodged, and that is true. My knight is just staying here forever. Um, yeah, I mean, I can see the purpose behind that move. You're just trying to seek counterplay, but I'm happy to let it happen because I do want to open this file also. Because if my knight is here, right, having a lot of the squares, my queen can come in anytime. I actually do have a lot of pressure on the king side. Yeah, I don't have to go to the c file. I can always go inside if I want. Yeah, yeah. Rook to c8 anyway. So the idea is not this, although that is very tempting. The idea is this: rook to c4, and then lifting the rook onto the king side later on. f5. So continuing with the plan, decent move, right? And yeah, rook to c4. Queen to e3. That's the best move. If you go anywhere else like here, then I think this is absolutely crushing. Yeah. And rook comes in, all kinds of nonsense is going to happen for black, for white. Yeah. So queen to e3. And here, I was thinking of like, how am I going to continue? Queen to h4, but then that leads to rook to f4, and I don't know. Black's, I mean, where's the attack for black, right? That's nothing. That's nothing. So I chose queen to c7 instead, a more indirect way to attack. Of course, it sets up the double attack, right? And the the other motive is that if this pawn falls, which it will eventually, then I get access to the king side again. C3, bad move, right? I think although honestly it's quite hard to suggest a move for white here. I think the computer gives the only saving move as pawn takes, captures, and with the idea that you get some tempo, and this just saves. Yeah, it basically saves white because you can't take. Obviously, that's mate. So I have to find a way to defend against it, something like that. And I don't know. Yeah, lots of nonsense can happen. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, going back. Yeah. So my opponent plays c3. Yeah. I don't know if someone say this, but when you have nothing better to do, you just take a pawn. Right. 3 pawn, and now I have access to the king side. But it's not all. It is not all like very rosy for me, because after this, there is potential for a lot of counterplay by black. And to Neil's credit, I think he did put up quite a good fight after this, even though he's a pawn down now. So watch what happens. Rook takes. Captures, checks, and now queen to b6. I think that's the best move in this position. You have the double threats of this, and that's mate, by the way. Yeah. So I think over here I really have only 2 things to do. Actually 3 things. I can go rook c8, try to hope for defending this, but I think that just loses, and then you have to move it again. I can go knight to f6. I think that was suggested, right? And I think that works, but I didn't really like the idea of retreating the knight when I have so much pressure against the king. So yeah, I wanted the knight to stay there, and instead I went for the very simple h6, so that if this check comes in, I just what, yeah. So takes, and now knight to d2. Here, yeah, I think I should talk about the time situation as well. By this stage, we were actually down to less than 15 seconds on the clock for both of us. If you look at white's time, he has about 9 seconds. I have about 11 seconds. Yeah. And even though there is 3 seconds increment for this, psychologically it's very hard for both sides to play already, especially when there's so much threats from both sides. For example, like if with 10 seconds on my clock, I can't possibly go and calculate whether black's king can escape from all the checks, right? Although I would say that I think white made the correct choice by by trying to rain down all the checks and sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I know that White is going for this, right? White is just going to come down, he's just going to go completely berserk and just come in and start checking. And in the time trouble situation, I think that's a good choice, right? But I mean, I didn't actually calculate all these variations later on, but I felt that actually all this will come to nothing for the simple reason that I have this shelter over here on the on the white on the upper left hand corner, and let's just watch let's just watch what happens. So I give a check. I take the free knight. I'm not afraid of this, and yeah, after this actually you see I actually go back here, and the moment I land here, there's really no way White can infiltrate now, right? There's just too many black pieces just cover everything. Yeah. And I think over here, because of time trouble, I think he's down to his last. My opponent is down to his last 4 seconds. We were literally playing this on all increment. So he dropped the queen over here, and after this he resigned. Right. But quite dramatic. I think because of the time trouble, it really could have gone either way. I was literally just relying on my own intuition to just trust myself that White's attack was not going to work. That I had a shelter over here. Yeah. So I think somewhere at this point, maybe instead of rook f8, you could try like rook f8, king e5, take g. Okay, so the idea here is that you let the king run away, but then you pick up all the pawns in the process. So let's say something like king to a4, rook takes h6. Okay, yeah, you get back the pawns in return for that knight, and I don't know, like what's the follow-up for black over here? Right, you're up a knight. Yes, many pawns for shelter. Possibly like knight to f3. So you can't take. And if you go back, then obviously there's mate, right? If you don't, you got to run out, right? And then possibly, just look for all the forcing moves. There's nothing here. This and this, and so this is cover. You got to go here. Oh wow. Well, that's not made yet. What the heck? Not possible. Wait, what? What? Oh my god. What? What the heck? Yeah. I think you got to trade queens here, and then I don't know. It's unclear. Knight against 2 plus pawns. Not so easy. Not sure if there's a mate here though. Doesn't work here. Yeah. I don't think there's anything. No lah. I think I have to simplify. Yes. If anything, right, you can just go back. Yep. Yeah. That was a fantastic game, honestly. Yeah, Neo played well. It really could have gone either way because of the time trouble, right? And actually, right, because of the very nature of an arena tournament, this was the first game that me and Neo played, and we got paired again in a subsequent round, right? Actually, this was the very last game that I played in the arena. I was coming out from how many games? Coming out from a very nice streak of about 4 to 5 games, 4 to 5 games of continuous wins, right? And this was like coming towards the end of the tournament, so I just wanted to pick up another win just for the lols. And I think both of us knew that the time was running out. So actually, if you look at the top of the game, you'll notice that Neo has actually berserked this game, right? As you all know, I'm really bad at handling time trouble, so I didn't berserk. But we'll see. Yeah, and once again, I'm taking the black pieces in this next game. So again, we have a exchange Karo Khan. He plays knight f3 again. Right, exactly the same, but now there's a small difference. Now he goes for c4, and now it does resemble what looks like a Panov winning attack. Here, I almost always go knight to f6, which I play in this variation, and After takes. Now, remember I mentioned this. Oh no, not yet. G4, bishop G6, and now remember I mentioned this move, bishop to B5 check. Now it happens, and things get tricky for black. Right, knight to C6, queen to A4. Oh, okay, so you see everything is happening now, right? Before you open the diagonal for this queen, I'm going to B6, knight in, rook to C8, knight to C3, and I mean I can take, but I didn't really like the idea of the hanging pawn pair over here. Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean black is not in a position to exploit them now. Yeah. So E6 instead, right? Takes. Okay. Now bishop F4, bishop E7. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. Let's just continue. And a rook to C1. And on first glance, it looks quite dangerous for white. I mean, obviously, you're going to lose a pawn here, right? There's no way you can defend it. For attackers, I can't really bring another defender. I mean, this is just really stupid, and plus it's illegal. Yeah. Right, and I think here I started to panic. Like, I was like, oh my god, what? I messed up this position. If I castle, then I just want to lose this and stuff. And so I say, oh wait a minute, let me just create counterplay in this position. Let me just blow it up altogether, and then I go for queen takes c4. Yeah, I mean that's very smart, right? You just win this pawn. You just pull this queen away, and then you just hope to remove the defender on this. Except that he gets a ticket, and I can't recapture because, oops. Yeah, so that's the story of how I panicked and I lost a queen in my last round. And I played along for a few more moves and then I resigned. Yeah. That was a pity because here, actually, after castles, the engine actually says that black is still better. A bit counterintuitive. Like, you think you're losing a pawn here, but if you look at the position, actually, white has compromised a lot by pushing all these pawns, right? You push g4, I mean, you push your pawns like this, you isolate your pawns like this, right? And they all become targets. Hello, Jing Yang. Good to see you. Yeah, and then your king is very vulnerable. So let's say, for example, after knight takes c6, pawn takes, bishop takes, I just play queen takes b2, and you have a lot of you have a lot of hanging pieces over here. You need to be very careful, right? If let's say you're not careful, you are greedy, you play this, and then boom, suddenly you're gonna a lot of nasty threats like this gonna happen, right? Yeah. Bishop pair, this one is gonna come out, blow you up. Yeah. I mean, yeah, one is to trap. It needs to be very careful here. Let's say, castle king side, still not safe, not safe. I have this. I protect. This pawn here is weak. This pawn here is weak. Bishop pair comes in, threatens f2. Who can come in here if you go away. Yeah, not easy for white to play this. But yeah, I don't know. Didn't see that. And yep, the very classic queen blunder happens, and yeah, I have every reason to resign, which I did after a lot more moves later. Yep. So yeah, I think this was Neil's first win against me in his my score against him is 2-1 actually. So yeah, you can really tell he has improved quite a bit. Yeah, but as you can see, even though I played the Karo Khan for don't know how many years, it's still a very tricky opening, right? Especially the exchange variation. There are a lot of these lines that you need to be very careful about. So I would say that is, for those of you who say that it's low theory, my answer to you is that low theory doesn't mean no theory. There's still a lot of tricks that have to be played here, and even for someone like me who has played this opening for very long, there's still so many there's still so many tricks in this line that I need to learn. Yeah. So don't worry, never stop learning. Right. Yeah, so that's the first two games against Neil. And I want to look through one last game for today. Against okay, so here I'm taking the white pieces against a Yi Chan 1800. I actually don't know him. Probably he's a new member of NUS IGC. Yeah. I never played with him before as well, for as long as I remember. But anyway, here, let's begin. So we have a very classic queen's gambit decline with the modern variation, bishop to g5. Right, so all this is very standard. Bishop takes f6 is there's quite a lot of theory over here. I think it was split between Kasparov and Karpov quite a lot, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of that variation. Right. And here a6. Okay, so the plan here is very common, right? A6. So I think one of the line goes bishop to d3, and then black forces white to waste a tempo over here, and then he pushes b5. So you go back, and then after that you just go all havoc on the queen side lah. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't go for that line. I went for a4. To stop this. Obviously, if they take, then there's tactics over here lah. Right. But there's a drawback to that line, which is that you allow this hole over here. So it's actually harder for me to expand queen side now. Like let's say queen to c2, then this happens and I look stupid basically. Right. I mean there's rook b1 here. Yeah, but so it's hard for me to expand queen side, but doesn't matter. I still have a lot of other plans, right? Enter inside attack. So not so bad for me. Bishop to e2, right? And now if you take, let's say here, I mean that's stupid again because you no longer can play this, right? So he does. My opponent goes for b6, quieter more development. No issues with it, right? I myself play b6 a lot from the black side of this position. If you all know data Takawa variation, that's a line that I'll recommend you all to you all like a solid game as in the queens can be declined, right? So b6 played, very normal, and here I trade, right, to try and ice him to trade here, but he doesn't, so be it, right? And yeah. I mean, if let's say they go something like this, try to trade here, that of course I'll be very happy, right? That'll be a very nice pawn structure for me. Obviously, they're not going to do that, right? If you don't chess at all. Okay. Rook to c1. So again, very standard, right? Just trying to put some pressure here, right? I think this c6 might be a weakness later on, but now knight to g6, and yeah, here I do have a problem, which is what am I going to do, right? I mean, knight to e5 was playable, but in knight to g6, the whole idea is that you are stopping me from doing this. You might even want to play this later on. Yeah, maybe not now because I can just go e5. My queen and my bishop are slightly tied down because, like, let's say if I move away, then there's always this risk of trading here. And while I wouldn't say that the double pawns are bad, but yeah, it gives that something to play against. So not sure if that's something I want to go into. I can try to push this, and this weakens here, but I think that's the possible plan as well, right? But there's another plan that I went for eventually, and okay, so eventually I think I thought here for quite some time, and I settled on this very ugly looking move, knight to a2. Yeah, I thought for about 20 seconds here. Knight to a2. And the idea here is that I'm just going to push b5, b4 later on, right? And yeah, just attack down the open file. If black goes a5 now, then I just draw back. Now you've given me this hole, I'm very happy. Life is good, right? So black doesn't do that. Instead, he goes knight e7. A bit of a strange move, honestly, because you're just giving me what I want, right? I just push b4, but I think the idea is, you're going to open up this diagonal, which is a perfectly okay plan on its own now, right? And now you see b4, and now it's hard for black to play any form of counterplay. Now I think c5 is obviously out of the question over here. So I don't really know what black is going to do in this position, right? Well, meanwhile, white already has a very clear plan. Bishop to d5 by black. Okay, but I just play knight to c3, bishop to b7, and yeah, I mean I want to continue attacking queen side. I need to find a way to get my knight somewhere, right? In order to open up these files and just go down general. But it's tricky again. And actually over here I think I played this move, bishop to d3. With the intention of if let's say my queen side really doesn't work, I can always relocate to the king side if I wanted to. Or I can push e5. Again, it's very playable. Yeah. My opponent plays f5 over here. That's very risky. It's very risky because first of all, knight to e5. I mean, of course, the idea is that you restrict this bishop, but not only that, now this pawn is weak and it's straight in the line of fire. Right. That's exactly what I did. Queen to b3 here. And now knight to d5. So now you notice this knight is hanging. That will cause black a bit of problem later on. Right. Takes, and now bishop here. This is a very interesting idea, right? So obviously if he takes, then I'm very happy because I just take rook c4, I pressure here, and then after that I pressure here, and now life is very good for white. But instead, my opponent goes for the plan with the most practical chances, right? Okay, I'm not sure whether he did this on purpose or whether he just completely forgot that he drops a pawn, but I think he went for this. Top takes f3. And of course, the idea is that you drop the pawn, but you are hoping for some counterplay over here. Right? And of course, it looks scary at first, right? I mean, this is mate. And in fact, that's what happened. Queen to g5, king to h1, knight to h4. Already a threatening mate here. But from my perspective, actually, it's not that bad. In fact, these double pawns do offer me some benefits, which is rook g1. And now, right, if you notice, if the queen goes away, then suddenly I'm the one that's having the pressure on the king side, thanks to these double pawns and the open file. My opponent plays queen to d8 here, which I didn't like at all. I think he should have just kept up the pressure with queen to h5 here. And here I would say I'm forced to either play one of these, possibly like bishop here, just to threaten this, and then just try to hold on here, and then possibly just station the bishop here, push f4 to stop the pawn from going forward, and then very simply just double the rooks on the g file, bring the queen over, possibly, and life is good for me. Right? But it takes a long time. Right? And it won't be easy. But instead, my opponent plays queen to d8 here. Now I'm very happy. Right? You remove the pressure here. Of course, of course I've no more incentive. I mean I still have to guard it, right? Oh, sorry. Skip all the way to the end. Yeah, I played queen to d5 here just to hold on to it. And also force the trade of queens, which my opponent is very cooperative. And now, after this, king to h7 and f4. And now actually white is just completely winning after consolidating this. So there's no more weakness here. There's no way this pawn can advance and create havoc anymore. This is just a clear pawn majority. In fact, I'm just a complete pawn up for black here. Yeah. Oh, hello JR. Could you explain outpost, please? Not sure if there's an example of an outpost in this particular position. Possibly like here. Okay, let's say an outpost would be something like this, where this bishop is just very impossible to dislodge. Like you can't really use the pawn to chase it away. So it's very hard to chase away this bishop. Or even better if there's a knight here. So that's the basic idea of an outpost. Yeah. Anyway, like I was saying, after f4. Oh yeah, another example of outpost. If let's say I had a knight, if I hop here, then that will be an outpost. Because again, black has no pawns to dislodge it. Oh yeah, I would say that after this, white is just completely winning. Right, clean pawn up, complete dominance of the files. I think the rest of this was just a mop-up operation. Just winning more pawns, getting in, and then this is mate in 3. Yep, checkmate. Yeah. I love this game. Yeah. And I think that's the third game that I think that's the last game that I shall do for today lah. Right. I do have a couple of other games, like especially my first two. I think those are really, those I really played very badly. So I'm a bit embarrassed to show them. But if you want, you can always go to the link of the tournament. I've put it in the description of the YouTube video, right? And I'll put it in the Twitch description afterwards as well lah. If you want to look at all the games, yeah. Yep. Right. So the time now is 2:30. Yeah, I still have quite a lot more time. Yeah. Tell what lah. Maybe I'll just wrap this particular content up for this channel. And then maybe later on I will go over to the Sifka channel and I'll do an elo guesser over there. Yeah. I'll just take a 5 minutes break first. Right. So for those of you who have been watching, thank you very much for joining in. Right. So this was the recap of the NUS Holidayrena selected games that I played in. And once again, thank you very much to Andrew, to Jay, to the IGC organizing committee for pulling this off. We really had a lot of fun in it. Yeah, and so for those of you who will be watching my stream later on Sifka for Elo Guesser, I put the link to the Sifka channels in both my Twitch and my YouTube channel so we can easily refer to them there. So thank you very much for watching and see you another day. See you later.